All right, guys. So we just finished a hot, sweaty session here. We got 3 songs of y'all's originals, all ready to come out. Great live performances. Very happy with the way everything sounds. We're right on mixing that. How do y'all feel about the performances today?
It was solid. I mean, we more or less sounded like we did on EP, but more of like that live sound, you know, more like power and all that. You know, I think
too much power on the bass drum kept falling over. But
exactly.
Deal with that.
Rig that.
This guy's foot met my little club kit, and the two, we found out what was immovable versus what was unstoppable. I'll just leave it there.
And
I think there's a lot to be said for the first time you guys walked in here to now, and why these performances are like real powerful. Throughout recording y'all's EP, I noticed a difference, and then seeing y'all live, you've implemented a lot of the ideas that we kind of created here in the studio, and so like that's really starting to come out in your live performances now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest benefit too, is not just being able to like store all that information into one digital track people can listen to over and over again, but it's also like I forget the saying, I think I'm probably going to butcher it here, but it's like sometimes a good teacher, or sometimes a good teacher is the best student. So like you learn stuff while you teach,
right?
Absolutely.
And I've witnessed that with just us 3. Like whenever we were like, I have this idea, but I don't know how to explain it, and then you play it and you try to like analyze it. You learn something through it while analyzing it.
So how do a lot of these songs start? Because we've seen all of them finished. Like one thing about you guys is you have a wealth of material, and like all the stuff that you've written, it's not by the numbers at all. All the parts are unique and different, and there's a certain level of surprise. We heard a new one today, and we were pretty much blown away by that.
Very impressive.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do most of these songs start? Do they start with a drum beat, start with a bass line, a guitar idea, lyrics? How do you go?
Hey, so let's see. If we're talking about specifically the songs on the EP and the extra we played today, most of them started with me sitting down extraordinarily frustrated and just slapping away on my acoustic guitar. Usually how it works is I come up with something on the guitar, then a concept reigns to mind. One of my main rules when I write is I always want to write a song to what it's supposed to be. I never want to force an idea. I want everything to flow as naturally as possible. And so when I have a generally completed song, so all the words and at least all the structure, I bring it to these guys. And then John will work on the drum beat. Sometimes if I'm just imagining something a certain way, I'll be like, hey, try this or try this.
Point me in the right direction.
Padley will come up with all sorts of ideas too. And of course, he'll add a lot of the extra musicality to it. So usually I just have the main riff and or chord progressions, and then he adds all the extra little stuff, which is his job as the lead bassist.
Let's talk about your lyric writing, because all of your songs are like very interesting topics. Like, how does that come about?
Usually it's just, again, based on the idea that comes in my head, and I just try to sit with them as much as I can and find all the references I need to make sure it's as precise and interesting as possible. Though on one song, Should Have Been Sober, I had come up with the riff, and I came up with the concept. Should Have Been Sober. That was literally all I had. All I knew is this song was going to be called Should Have Been Sober, and I couldn't write lyrics to it. I didn't like anything I wrote, so I gave it to Padley, and then he sat with it for maybe 2 months, and he found that he actually one of our songs that he's written the lyrics on. And so how'd you
Oh yeah. Well, that song is completely like, it's hard to nail down exactly what it means. It's kind of like a general all fits rule. But the concept is really just making sure that you are somewhat sober-minded before you go into a conversation or a workplace or an environment where you're going to be tasked with doing something serious enough. And that's because I myself, and I'm sure everybody in general who's a human, has dealt with moments of not quite mental clarity or even emotional clarity. You're bringing some baggage with the last thing you just dealt with into something that requires your full forward focus. And yeah, that's where it came about. It's just the idea of being sober-minded. And yeah, I mean, I put my own kind of personality on those lyrics too.
Yeah,
but
it was nice because I had the original idea for it, and yeah, I didn't really know what direction, but then he pulled in the perfect direction. I was like, yes, I love it. I related to it very much. It was exactly what I wanted.
Well, I like your direction about the meaning, talking about going into things, in a sort of clear-headed way, accepting what there is to be done, right? Get out of the problem into the solution, whatever, right? But but I like that because in a sense you are personifying it in that you have shown up and accepted every opportunity that I've seen come up. I've seen you going to the Tosca music party, you were playing at the Bart Smart, you came to our open mic, which sort of led to all of this. And then we put you on a show at the Shake Shack, and you bring over some cute girls to come watch you.
Yeah, that was fun.
So I see you showing up to those moments and sort of grabbing and pulling forward. What do you think motivates you to work so hard at this? Because we've been in the studio for 8-9 hour days working on this EP, and we've also shot some footage for music video that may or may not be used, where you were out in the rain until 3 a.m. So
with a goose egg on his eye too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people say they want to be artists or entertainers, but they don't show up and apply themselves. And I see you all doing that. And what motivates this?
Well, for the most part, I think we all have this concrete understanding of you know what? I'm going to bring up the name Xbound. It does mean to us, no matter what we put in, we're going to get something out of it. So if we put in crap, we're going to get crap out of it. We're not going to get anything out of it. However, I'd like to look at it in a positive light, because even still, we have maybe 1 every 3 practices where we're not all on our A game. It might not be quite that frequent, but even still, when you do make mistakes, you learn from those mistakes, and that's the most positive way to look at it. It's very cliche, but that's just the mundane truth, is you don't know what you're going to get out of something until you actually put some effort into it, whether that effort is half or full. So to us, that's what that means for essentially everything we do, is we know that we're by no means the greatest musicians out here, but we do know that there is a struggle that's involved with being good and being great. But we, in our terms, think we're great enough to do the things we want to do, and kind of believing in yourself without putting yourself down too much. That's essentially how I think our mindset goes.
Greg, you had something to add?
Yeah.
Well, you see, Padley took it in probably the more perfect direction. He that does describe us as a band and our attitudes. Only thing I have to say is what I put my heart and soul, and I'll continue to, is I got into this real late, much later than I wanted to. When I was young, I didn't like music. I hated music. Only music I knew was the new pop stuff coming out, and it didn't appeal to me. I didn't like it any. My dad he grew up showing my brother all the music my dad would listen to, and so I wasn't ever a part of that. I wasn't ever introduced to the music I like, which is real funny, because now my brother listens to the complete opposite end of what my dad does, and I listen to what my dad does now. But for literally 16 years of my life, I hated music. And then I went to a charter school, and I just kind of ran out of things to do, so I decided to pick up guitar after not being able to take piano lessons anymore, which is a whole other thing. And I just taught myself, and then I finally taught myself piano, and through that, I say Billy Joel saved my soul, because I heard him, and by goodness, I started loving music. Every day at school, I would listen to a whole album of his during computer time. I'd do a little work, then take the rest of it to listen to a whole album after album. Then I kind of ran dry. I was like, okay, who do I listen to next? Dad introduced me to Dio. all that, album by album, every single song, and this continued for a while. And, well, I found the one passion I was missing for 16, 17 years of my life, and so I had to put my all into it. I had to catch up. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm playing catch up, and I'm enjoying every minute with it, with these two phenomenal guys.
Hey, so let's talk about your dad a little bit more, because he was in here a few times for the recording process, and he was definitely like involved in your delivery of things. Like, how involved is he in the band itself?
Well, I really appreciate him, first of all, because he is my hardest critic, and I know he is. He doesn't flatter me. He doesn't pretend I do things well every time. I love my mom and all, but I know she's going to usually tell me, great job, no matter what. But my dad, he'll correct me, and I know he wants to see me succeed as much as I can, and he's going to help me in the ways he can all along the way. So
That's awesome.
I mean, he even once told us collectively that we should all consider taking lessons. And I mean, when I heard that, I was like, I kind of agree. Because, you got to humble yourself and put yourself before someone who knows more than you sometimes.
Well, I mean, back to what you said about the best teacher being the student. It's like I'm always trying to learn new things with this. I mean, and by always learning something new, it's like you kind of have to stay a little humble, because nobody starts out good at everything they try to do.
Right. And that's why it's also
Except
beneficial
Sean.
for us, huh?
except Sean.
Except Sean. That's why
Sean, all Corey ever got was Topanga,
Well, that's why it's also beneficial for us too to just go out and play with other people and be at other venues, because there was a guy that hit me up after one of our shows. I think it might have been at Bart's, but he liked the way that I played bass and asked me if I had any pointers. And I was like, yeah, and I showed him kind of what I had been watching on YouTube versus what I listened to, and just showed him how they kind of correlated. And apparently his bass has improved as well. And then I asked him, how did you learn? And it's just, being able to piggyback off each other in a local music community can be very beneficial. It's the cheapest, ultimately the cheapest way of getting any kind of teaching is teaching other people and asking them to teach you back. Basically, it's kind of a good trade in a way. I didn't know how to slap until I saw somebody do it literally at Moochie's.
Oh, wow.
At Moochie's Tavern, which is way back. This is back when we were called Wonderkind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What?
Wonderkind. Or
That's right.
Wunderkind?
Wunderkind.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
The confusion shows itself. Hence, we changed the name.
Yeah. People
There
were
it
like,
is.
what?
That's a whole different
So
interview.
Wonderkind.
Let's open this can of worms now.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the community, that's a lot of what we're trying to do is the biggest shame to me about the music industry right now is there is quite literally no music journalism, in the sense of it's like the media model is essentially clickbait. So you're going to hear what Kanye West did, you're not going to hear what happened Tuesday night or Wednesday night
Right.
at the local club, but that's where everybody starts.
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people doing that now too. I've seen not a lot. I've seen 3 that I can name that were on Instagram. I won't name them just because I don't know how safe that is to do. But I do know that I've seen it surfacing recently. And I wondered too, because some of the places that they've talked about have been Tommy's and Bart's Mart and Evening Muse. So I wonder now too if that's just the way that it goes sometimes. You guys are really obviously putting a lot of effort into it, and we see that. That's why we keep coming back to you guys, and we're thankful for what you guys have been doing for us and helping us out in general.
Absolutely.
And so it's cool to... Sorry, what?
I said absolutely.
Absolutely. Sorry, it was so
Jeez.
What did
You're
you
good.
say?
You're good. You're the
Say it
furthest away
louder.
from the microphone. Yeah, that's my bad.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just think it's cool because you see what one person does that you don't even know exists. Like you said, music journalism, and then sure enough, after you recognize what it is and how it works, you start to see that other people do try to do it. But yeah, it's just interesting. I never knew that there was a whole side of it, or rather, a side of the music community. I didn't know that music journalism was part of that.
So what's next?
John?
What's next?
What's next, John? Come on.
Well, We're gonna play at your gig next week. That's next, right away.
That's next.
The next Spectrum Center. Right after that.
the night after that.
What do you mean by next, Zach? Because next I'm going to bed after eating a nice big bowl of oatmeal.
Same, except not oatmeal. What I mean by next is, so you've got this EP, and you're about to have like a whole set of live sessions and stuff, and you've got gigs lined up. Like, what's the next year goal for you?
Social media.
A lot of social media.
A lot of hard.
Between now and the EP release, we plan on doing a lot of social media, building ourselves up there, experimenting on YouTube, TikTok, all the major things. We plan on playing as many live shows as we can get, and obviously releasing the EP. And immediately we were going to start on our first album, which will include most of the songs on the EP and more.
I also have noticed that one of the things that, I haven't noticed this. One of the things I want to do is really take over. Like he mentioned backup singing at one point, and I was like, I can hear my voice right now even through these headphones. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do backup voices.
What interests you is what you must do.
Yeah.
Just, it works for the dung beetles, and it works for the crows, right? I don't want to eat dead animals, and I don't want to crawl around and shit. But it works for them.
Yeah.
What interests us is what we must do. And what challenges you is what you must do. So if there's a need for you to do it, you have an interest in doing it, you should develop it.
Right.
But as far as what's next, I think what's next is y'all are phenomenal players. And now it's not just building a social media following or this or that. It's, and video interviews like this will help, it's one connection with one person who needs to hear the crazy idea that popped in your head that you had to make a song about. And if we can just find those people, it'll have all the meaning in the world. And I think y'all can do that.
Yeah, that's we actually really enjoy doing that. Just going to new venues, talking person to person. Most of our followers is because this guy just goes to the bar.
Can't keep my mouth shut.
And just starts talking to random people. I'll be at home. It's like, oh, we got a follower. Apparently must be drinking.
Yeah.
So we can't wait for y'all to hear this EP and to see the sessions videos. I think one of the sessions videos will probably be out by the time you see this interview. But we'll be posting about Xbound Briarcliff session shows, and also at anywhere y'all are playing. We'll let people know where you're going to be. We'll be sharing that from our social media, and we'll just all keep growing together. I think this whole project is phenomenal, and what y'all are doing is phenomenal. It seems like you got the right attitude, and we just all got to keep showing up, and I'm sure all this will keep growing. We just got to find the people that need us.
Speaking of people, we can't wait until you, the people, see it, because I think we're going to go somewhere with this EP. I'm excited. I'm too excited.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.